welcome back to another video with my creaky chair, which every time I reach over to grab a book is going to creak. So hopefully you can't hear that, but I think you probably can. So, in this video I want to talk about my favourite books. I think if I'm recommending and reviewing books, it's really interesting for you guys to know the kind of books that I love to read, so you can know if our reading tastes are similar or not. If you follow me on bookstagram, you probably already know a lot of these, but because I have so many books and I talk about them all, some I may not have talked about for a while, so it's just to refresh your memory in that case. But I thought I'd start off with the book that I say is my favourite book. Now, most bookworms can probably relate. We don't have like a favourite book, but I found that it's really it's a lot easier to just respond when someone asks me what my favourite book is with one book, instead of going, can I name 50? Because no, I cannot name 50, because people don't like that. So the dirty book that I love is Six of Crows, and it's dirty as in the covers, dirty, not Nevernight kind of thing. Anyway, so this is Six of Crows. You've probably heard of it. It's a fantastic YA fantasy. I've read this book 3 times because I'm obsessed, and I read Crooked Kingdom once because I cannot bring myself to read it again. Like, my heart still hasn't healed from the first time, and so I don't want to risk reading it again because I don't think I can handle that. But I have read this book 3 times, and with each read it gets better, which is really weird because usually when I reread books it makes me lose interest in them because I'm not shocked anymore or anything. But this book, there's so much detail in it that every time I read it I just fall in love all over again. I did read this before I read the Grisha trilogy the first time, and I was so confused, and then I reread it after and I was like, oh, this will make sense now. Although not all of it makes sense because there is so much world building, it's quite hard to keep up. So yeah, this book is a tough read to begin with because it makes no sense, but once the action starts you won't be able to put it down, I can promise you that. Next we have got A Dark Shade of Magic, which is just such a great book. I recently listened to the audiobook as a reread. I absolutely love it. I love every single book I've read that V. Schwab has written, so it's just fantastic. It's one of her best, although all her books are like the best. And I'd love to include like Vicious and The Near Witch and everything on this list, but I thought maybe I'd fangirl about V. Schwab in a separate video. I want to do something called like author reviews, where I review like almost all an author's work, if that makes sense, in one video. So it's just an idea at the moment, but if I do that I'll definitely do V. Schwab because I love her books. Next we have Chosen Ones by Veronica Roth. This book is so special to me. I received a review copy which is right behind me, you cannot see it, and it's incredible. Again, I also recently listened to the audiobook and it gets so much better every time I read it. It's just phenomenal, and this is the Fairy Loot version. I want to get the normal version, the normal hardback, and kind of start a collection. But yeah, this book is just incredible. I love it so much. It's meant to be a adult book, not in that way, but like it's meant to be for an older audience. I don't think it needs to be. I think she's just trying to separate herself from Carve the Mark and Divergent in the marketing, so people can stop comparing them, because with Carve the Mark everyone compared it to Divergent, and I feel like she has come up with a really clever way to stop that happening as much. But this is fine for YA. It was absolutely fine. So next we have a book I don't think many of you will have heard of, but if you have and you've read it, you will love it, because I don't think I've met one person who's read this book and hasn't adored it. And this is The Orphans Code by C.R.R. Hillen. This is a self-published book, which I don't think any of the other books are on this list. I'm not biased. Hillen is like my editor. She edited One Wish, One Choice for me, and she's a great friend of mine. But I did read The Orphans Code before we were friends, and I loved it so much. So now my thoughts and reviews would be impacted, but I'm going off what I thought before we were close friends. So this book is incredible. It really is. And I recently read the sequel, and it's somehow even better, but I thought I would just talk about this book because I have the hardback for this, because Helen sent it to me. But yeah, this book is phenomenal. It is so, the world building is the best I have ever read. Like, no book does better world building than this one. So yes, check out this book. It is so good. There are trigger warnings, especially for book 2, but I think Helen has them all listed in the book. Otherwise, just message her on Instagram and she will tell you. Next, we have a lot of people's favourite book, A Curse So Dark and Lonely. I was lucky enough to actually meet the author, and she is so lovely. So all my editions of this book are signed by her, which is just so cool to me. And yeah, it's a perfect retelling. It's absolutely perfect. A Heart So Fierce and Broken, I enjoyed, but it made me really angry because of certain character development things. But this book is perfection. Harper is probably the book character that I relate to the most. I see a lot of myself in her, which is probably why I like it, because I'm a bit big-headed and I'm like, oh, I relate to this character. She's brilliant. It makes me sound really bad, but I think you guys can understand, like, when you find a book character that's very like you and makes the same decisions you would in that situation, there is like a connection. So absolutely love this book. The cover, just buy it for the cover. Just do it because it's beautiful. And then as an extra you'll get the amazing story inside. So I cannot wait for A Vow So Bold and Deadly. I cannot wait for that book's release. Next we have Caraval. I have listened to this book on audiobook and read it, and the audiobook is probably the best audiobook I've ever listened to. It was so well done, and it just really made this book come to life in a magical sense. Like, it's amazing. So yeah, this is one of my favourite books. This is the UK hardback, which went out of print ages ago, and I was able to grab a copy recently for like £10, which is incredible because they were going for hundreds like a year ago. So this is like one of my very special books, and I need to reread this at some point next year because 2 times is not enough for this book, because the magic that this book contains is amazing, and I really recommend it. I feel like it's gone out of the spotlight just slightly. Everyone was talking about it when the series wasn't complete and like finale was meant to come out, and now the series has kind of ended. Everyone stopped talking about it, but I want to talk about it still because it's so good. Next we've got Rebel. In some ways this is like to represent all Mari Lou's books, because Warcross, except from the Young Elites, I was not a fan of the Young Elites, sorry. I actually DNF'd it, which is shocking. I haven't read the final book, even though I have it because I bought the box set. I don't DNF much, so that's a big deal. So yeah, Rebel is here to represent the Legend series, but Rebel was just such a perfect book, and we needed it. The way Champion ended wasn't fair. It wasn't fair for my bookworm heart, and I needed this to help stitch my heart back together, and it was everything I'd wanted. And it's really interesting after reading Legend and Warcross to see how both books have impacted this. Her writing is just phenomenal, and I cannot wait to read Sky Hunter and Kingdom of Back, I think it's called, which I'm getting for my birthday, hopefully. So I will be reading more of her books soon. I'm a bit behind, I don't know why. I literally have no excuse. But yeah, Rebel is just a perfect book. And finally, so all of those were like first books in the series except from Rebel. We have a second book in the series. So The Wicked King is the second book to The Cruel Prince, which is amazing. The Queen of Nothing was definitely the worst book in the series. It just didn't feel complete. It felt a bit rushed, some stuff. The Cruel Prince was brilliant, but this book, the twists, the turns, the enemies to lovers, everything about this book was perfect, and I love it so much. And I need to reread this one. Have I read this one twice? There's a theme here. There is a theme of me reading my favourite books a lot. I might need to listen to the audiobook because I can't, at the moment, with you can't see it, but there is a huge book cart full of books that I haven't read behind me, and I can't justify rereading books when they're just there. So at the moment I listen to books that I've already read as my reread, and it's brilliant. I really recommend it because I don't feel guilty and I still get to enjoy the world. It's perfect. So I need to maybe listen to the audiobook of that. That was it. Those are all my favourite books. Obviously I have to have more, like there are books on the edge like I really want to talk about, like Aurora Rising, and can't think of any more right now. Nevernight, Warrior of the Wild is a brilliant underrated book. Absolutely love that. All those kind of things. So maybe I'll do a video again, but I don't think I will. If you're interested in hearing my thoughts on more books, you can check out my bookstagram. Literally everything will be linked below because that's what YouTubers do. Yeah, I'm going to wrap up this video here. Thank you so much for watching.